This is the Stabby Road Podcast.
Hey everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Stabby Road Podcast. We've got a little bit of a different take this week because we just have the one film we're talking about. There's no particular theme, but we are celebrating one of the biggest and greatest horror/thriller films of all time. The film that basically started the concept of the summer blockbuster, and that is Steven Spielberg's 1975 masterpiece, Jaws.
Let's go.
Yeah, with us today, we have most of the original crew.
Three quarters.
Three-quarters of the original crew. Across the pond from us is
The pond?
the pond. Because somehow we're in
Island?
England. I
You're
don't
looking
know.
at it from
We're
the water?
in England. Is of course our lovely Sonia Harcourt.
Hello.
So great to see you again.
You too. I miss you guys.
Yeah, and really we miss being in the studio.
I know.
We've had a lot of really terrific episodes that we've sort of split up with, and like you led a few that were really terrific. Josh led a few that was terrific. I did, but I generally miss the camaraderie and chemistry of all of us in the same room.
We'll make it happen this
And
summer.
yes, it absolutely will happen, and we just have to figure out when, because we've also all gotten quite busy since the last time we were all in the same room at the same time. Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, next to me is Stabby Tech Josh. Yep. So Jaws. Josh had a great point before. Like, everybody knows Josh. Everybody knows.
Everybody does know Josh.
Everybody
Everybody
loves Josh. What I meant was,
I pitched that to NBC last week, and they said,
They didn't go for it?
"What are you doing here? Please get out of our break room."
Yes.
How did you get past security?
And leave,
How did you
and,
get past security?
yes, and leave the duffel bag of food that you took.
I am for one incensed that you would insinuate that I have snuck in here, and I'm just stuffing bagels into a giant backpack.
So everyone has seen Jaws. So it's kind of pointless for us to talk about the story, or even to a certain. I mean, we could go into a little bit of the troubled.
If you don't know the story of Jaws,
Yeah.
Who knows the trouble? The shark
Right.
didn't fucking work.
So if you are 12 years old and have not seen Jaws, pause this. Go see Jaws. I think as of this showing, it is on Peacock.
Yeah.
It is the 50th anniversary, so you actually get to see a little introduction by Steven Spielberg on it. Yes, it was really terrific. It's like 5 minutes long. It's not even him just going, "Hi, I'm Steven Spielberg. Go see Jaws." He goes into a big long story, and then come back and then unpause this and watch the rest of our episode. What we're going to do is the three of us are going to actually start sharing our experiences of seeing Jaws for the first time, or even what the impact has had on us as viewers, as fans, as filmmakers, as horror nerds, everything, Jaws has been a seminal film for so many people for now 50 years.
crazy.
Half a century. I am normally Joe, who is here, is the old guy. He is not here, so I am the oldest here, and I can actually say when I was 10 years old, I saw this in the theater with my dad.
Damn.
It was the only time when we got home at 10 years old, I went into my parents' room and said, "Could I sleep in the bed with you guys?"
Oh, I was gonna say 10. Damn.
Yeah. Well, because we
Scary for
had no
10.
idea. First, it was rated PG.
Right.
This is before the rating systems created a PG-13.
Right.
So they just figured it was like, oh, it was maybe a somewhat scary movie, but there are things we were not going to expect to see. I was not going to expect to see a guy's leg bit off and to the bottom of the thing. I was not going to see old Ben Gardner's head pop out of a hole in the boat. I was not going to see, literally watching Quint get eaten alive by a shark and then dragged under the water. So at 10 years old, there's a lot of things to see.
Yeah.
Or the little Kintner boy getting, having a gushing fountain of water as he's being torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was the one and only time in my non-toddler phase that I slept in the same bed with my parents.
Oh, that's valid.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you guys?
What was the audience reaction like in the theater?
So there's a great, okay, I want to really tell you that this is something I experienced firsthand. So there's something in films called recurring motifs, right? And really one of the first blatant recurring motifs in a film was in Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
The music.
Yeah.
And it's that bum 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 because that music isn't just music, that is the shark's inner monologue.
Exactly. Yes.
So whenever the shark is around, that's what you hear.
Right. Like shark POV.
Yeah. And there's that great scene where they're on the Orca, they've gone out the excursion, and Roy Scheider is shoveling chum into the water. And he says, I forget what it is, like something, come shovel some of this shit. And
Yeah,
this
that's exactly
out without the music. At that moment, and I'll never forget, everybody in the audience screamed out loud.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because we were trained as an audience to know whenever the shark was around. So we were not expecting a shark to pop its head out of the water.
God, it's just brilliant
filmmaking. A brilliant piece of art that was, that basically was invented in post-production.
Right.
We talk about, like you said before, the shark never worked, and so they had to create a minimum of whenever it was around. He only really shows up in full towards the end. A lot of the underwater shots are an actual shark with a little, like a smaller person playing Richard Dreyfuss, so that it looks so much bigger in the cage. So they had to invent ways of making the shark be there without being there, and actually work to its advantage. And it made the film what it is today. It made Spielberg, who almost got fired several times off of it, the master of improvisation, and in terms of having to last second and last minute make changes to a film that.
There's a great saying, and I always forget exactly how it goes, but it's just like something, limitations breed creativity.
Yes.
Like that, and I feel like Eric and I talk about this a lot whenever we watch like Corridor Crew, like VFX artists react, how it's not that CGI is inherently bad, it's that people are lazy with it and use it as a crutch.
Yeah,
so rather than having to decide on set and make like a solid artistic choice, it's like, well, we'll film this and then we'll do whatever in post.
Right.
It's I mean, so many things that went wrong that then forced them to make probably one of the greatest movies ever made, because they had to work with what they had at the time. And it just, I don't know, like you flex that artistic muscle so differently when you don't have, I think, the safety net.
Yeah. I was just talking about this morning because Jake and I are producing a feature for somebody, and we were deciding on when the production is going to actually take place, and we were like, well, look, if the optimal time to do it is not the optimal time for, we have all the time in the world to prep it and fundraise and do all these things, and we were like, look, these limitations are what's going to make this movie it. And I think there's a David Fincher quote that I think of all the time where he said, and I think about this when I'm working with new directors or seasoned directors or just any type of talent, of like what makes a good director. He says, you don't know if you're a good director when you've got the studio rental, you've got it for 8 months, you own the camera so there's no fee on it, and you got the air conditioning and everybody's happy. He's like, you don't know who you are as a director until the sun is setting, you've got to get 8 shots, you're only going to get 2, the crew wants to go home. He's like, and what choices you make there, that's who you are as a director.
Right.
Anybody can make a good movie with optimal conditions. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Absolutely. And I think this movie was probably, I think Spielberg was probably born a great storyteller.
Yes.
If you ever watched the film The Fabelmans, which is basically his life story, and I'm sure things were altered or whatever, but like you can see his trajectory in that film. And I think this is the film that turned him from, and we talk about this in other words, turned him from caterpillar Mothra to butterfly Mothra.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this is the film that really created that.
Well, this is like it's maybe the only Hollywood story, right? You see so many filmmakers where they're like the indie filmmaker, then they make that like breakout film, and then you get like a blank check to just make whatever you want.
Right.
And sometimes that leads to a career. Certainly guys like Chris Nolan have had a career like that, but even they have had ups and downs. But like Spielberg's the only guy who made the movie was so fucking incredible. He had a blank check for the rest of his career.
Right.
Like literally, no matter what movie he made, whether it was like 1982, 1941, which I think came out in 1982, 1941, or like any of these movies that like flopped or weren't super successful, and it never hurt his career.
No.
Nope.
It never hurt his career.
Yeah. Everybody's just like, well, you can't win them all, right? Because it's just.
And the reality is the 1941s were far and few between. You know, I mean, right after that, he did,
fucking E.T. and
E.T.
Indiana Jones.
So.
Oh my God, Poltergeist! Like,
Not to mention, like, my favorite Spielberg stuff doesn't even come until like the fucking Minority Report and the stuff he was doing in the 90s, and so like he just never missed.
Yeah.
War of the Worlds, which is, when you think about his filmography, a very weird film in his filmography.
Yeah, but nonetheless, he managed to make it work. I have issues with the ending of that, but anyway,
still an incredible movie.
Jaws, yes. Sonia, what are some of your
memories, your sort of experiences with it?
This is gonna sound weird, but it's not one of those movies where I remember exactly where I was when I saw it. I don't remember when I saw it, but I want to say it had to be around elementary school, because that was also when Shark Week first premiered.
Oh, okay.
Ever Discovery Shark Week. And I remember in 5th grade I became absolutely obsessed with sharks. So something must have triggered it. I think like the last time I remembered seeing it for the first time was sometime in college, at like a school showing or something, but it definitely spawned my interest in sharks. And that became a lifetime obsession. They are still 100% my favorite animal. So whenever, oh my God, there's a really bad ripoff that Riff Trax covers called The Last Shark.
Right.
And it makes me so mad because literally at one point, because they have a fake Quinn and they have the fake Brody.
Yeah, as they all do, yeah.
Exactly. And he's like,
there's a movie I'm going to talk about a little later that has those elements. It's actually, I'm going to call it the best Jaws ripoff movie, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Anna?
What? Nope.
Anna?
Nope.
Oh,
keep going.
I found The Last Shark in full on YouTube, so I'm going to watch it.
Sick. Do it. It's, oh my God, it's so bad. But they're like, Quinn is literally giving like the presentation and they're doing PowerPoints and they say the words great white shark as they're showing a picture of a tiger shark. I can't express the rage that feel like. It's like, actually, I'm still absolutely 100% obsessed with sharks. Obviously the legacy of this film is somewhat double-edged sword. It was responsible for Shark Panic, and for basically putting sharks on the endangered species list. Unfortunately, people were very uneducated. Obviously the rogue theory, Hooper's theory has been proven wrong since then.
Right.
And obviously, we didn't know a whole lot, but it is very problematic in that way. It's a masterpiece of a film, but culturally, unfortunately, it did a lot of damage.
Yeah. So I was going to talk about this a little later, but since you brought it up, I want to talk about it now. We, because we do have a pretty great interactive community on TikTok and Instagram. And when I first we went on the date May 20th or whatever it was that Jaws physically dropped 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I put a little thing up there, up on TikTok and Instagram, and a post, and it was interesting because there are so many people who were clearly sort of younger than I was, or younger than the Jaws phenomenon
Hmm.
came out and were saying like, "Hey, it's a great movie," but
Mm.
and they all genuinely had legitimate a legitimate. They weren't complaints. They were just saying, "Look, this happened because of Jaws."
Yeah.
Right. Because you can't.
And I don't think any one person said Jaws sucked or anything like that. They were just saying this was sort of an after effect of what happened. And we had quite a number of people, and I responded to as many people as I could. Saying,
Nice.
you're absolutely right, and even to the point where people like Eli Roth
Mm. Yes.
has had put together things to really preserve sharks.
Maybe the only good
He might be iffy in some regards, but I love him for this. I absolutely love him for this.
saving sharks and making Hostel are the two only good things he's ever done in his life.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I was
Hold on.
like,
I'm
Josh's face, like,
yeah, I'm crossing his name off our guest list now.
oh,
Roth,
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
not a good guy.
I know, but yay, sharks. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then he's done a lot for sharks, and so
Yeah.
double-edged.
I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
But
Yeah.
so I did. Yeah, you're right, because I did want to bring that up, not only because I wanted to sort of convey that you're not the only shark nerd.
Yeah.
There are people out there who are also horror fans and have since let us know their feelings about it.
I think technology and science has really helped people. I think more people are into them than ever before because we're learning so much more about them, and people are learning that they're not these just mindless killing machines. They're actually incredibly smart. YouTube and Instagram, I highly recommend the Malibu Artist. He is a drone photographer, and he does overhead shots along different beaches in California, and he has documented so many, like, the amount you see him catch, it's a miracle that attacks even happen as infrequently as they do, with the amount of times that we're in the water and we have no idea they're there, because we're not their first prey. We're not their prey of choice. It expends more calories than it's worth for them. We're too bony. We're not fatty enough. And it's like, how like toddlers and babies explore things with their mouths.
Yeah.
That's how sharks explore things. But unfortunately, an exploratory bite from a great white can kill you.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah. Like, it's not like people don't die from shark attacks, but it's not this panic that people think it is,
Yeah.
It is
so exceedingly rare.
Yeah. And I think what's like, I know a lot of people who are divers and things like that who are experienced being around sharks, and they will say exactly what you're saying, because their essential color, that gray color that they have underwater, a shark could be 10 feet away from you and you wouldn't know it under the
Not
water.
at all, even 5 feet, and you might not.
So people who are swimming who aren't experienced divers know, suddenly a shark comes out of nowhere, of course they're going to panic and they're going to freak out, and they'll start flailing about, and a shark is going to get curious as to what that is.
Yep, that's the worst thing you can possibly do, is flail and act like a wounded animal. Yep.
Yeah.
No, definitely check out the Malibu Artist. It's absolutely fascinating to watch him document, like, because he'll caption it too, obviously. And like, this surfer had no idea that they were within 4 feet of a 16-foot great white, and it just swam up, it did a little once over, and then went on its way. Like, the only times that they ever even get that close are usually if they're juveniles, and a lot of times if there's an older shark in the area, they will correct them.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They'll be like, no, you don't want that. You don't want to waste your time with that. That's not. Yeah, it's absolutely
divers, and they're not even like about sharks. They're just diving, and a shark will come right up to him, and the guy will just take his nose and just kind of push it out of the way and keep going.
Not for you. Not for you. Not your prey. Yeah.
I've also recently seen another myth that kind of got busted, because people used to say that, like, when you're on a surfboard, a shark looks up and sees just this black thing and thinks it's a seal. Most of those water seals aren't around, so most of those sharks wouldn't know what a seal is. But the sharks that do go after seals, it's not just their vision; they can sense what the movement and muscles
Exactly.
swimming through
Yeah.
water. A
They
boat
have-
is just this black stiff thing, so they wouldn't. It's a boat.
They have I think they're technically organs around from the snout to the back called the ampullae of Lorenzini, and those
Yeah.
pick up on like magnetic electric.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like when you flail, that's what they're picking up on is the vibration in the water and everything.
Right.
Yeah. There's footage of a woman who I mean I believe it was specifically shark diving, but she a tiger shark came up to her with a giant hook in its mouth
Yeah.
and it held still and waited and she took it out and then brought more shark friends like next week. Like, hey, this lady's pretty cool. Like, she'll help us out. Like, they're so much smarter than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
I think fish in general are smarter than we give them credit for, but sharks in particular are very intelligent animals.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's such a shame that
Yeah. And again, I don't want to say that people don't get attacked by sharks, but
no, I'm not like saying,
Yeah.
oh, it never happens, but
it's not the raging panic that I think most people think that it is.
You're probably
we're
more
much more of a danger to them than they are to us.
Right.
you're more likely to be attacked by Eli Roth than you are a shark.
You're not wrong.
Oh my God.
You're actually like the statistics are crazy. Like you're more likely to be struck by lightning, killed by a donkey, not just kicked, but killed by a donkey than you are a shark.
Yeah.
It's just exceedingly rare. And I mean, I'll take this opportunity, I guess, to like do the what to do kind of thing. Like, God forbid you do come face to face with one. You don't turn your like any predator. You don't turn your back on it.
Right.
Make eye contact because they're ambush predators. They don't want to attack you when you know they're there.
Yeah.
And yeah, punch obviously like the nose, the gills, the eyes. That's all you can really do, and then just like back away slowly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just usually they're not gonna unless they're absolutely. I think there's that one horrific story of I think it was in Egypt like a couple years ago of a guy who was eaten alive by a tiger shark. But when they did the autopsy on the shark, they were like, "Holy shit, this shark hasn't eaten in like 3 months."
Oh my God.
It's exceedingly rare. Most of the time they bite, they spit it out. They're like, "That's too bony," and that's it. But yeah, sorry, I could go on about sharks forever. So you're gonna have to cut me off so Josh can talk.
No, I love Shark Talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Shark Talk. We'll put up a
Shark Talk.
Shark Talk.
Yeah. Sonia Hardcore. Sonia Shark Court. That's what we're gonna start calling you now. Sonia Shark Court.
Shark Court. I like it.
That's,
I like it.
Yeah. Josh, what was your
I mean, I had a weird
origin story?
Oh.
I mean, it's not weird. It's just like with all these movies, like because that like this, The Shining, I mean, just so many 2001. Like they're in the ether. It's like, you know, if somebody's in the ocean in a cartoon and somebody's sneaking up on them, you're getting the bum 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 bum. So it's like I knew everything that was going, but I think like my interesting in was we went before I had seen the movie. We went to Universal in Florida, and they have you been?
Not since I never got to do the ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have this like Jaws ride, which is like, we're gonna go on a boat, guys. We're just gonna go around the water, and we're gonna have a tour of the water. Nothing bad is gonna happen. We promise you.
Well, I did say we're going on the Jaws ride, not thinking you hadn't seen
Hadn't
Jaws.
seen Jaws, didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting on the essentially in the splash zone on the ferry.
Oh God.
I'm sitting here, probably 2-3 rows back from the guy up front, and I'm sitting on the left, and perfect view of the water. Now this ride had to have been made in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the animatronic in your head was cheaper than the animatronic they made for the movie in the 80s. So when I'm like 9 in 2010, sitting there, I also they're like, oh, some shit's happening. You see the bubbling of the water, and then I think like the tour guide gets like yanked off the boat or whatever, and it's like one of those live shows and whatever.
Yeah.
And then like a moment hits and you're like, oh fuck, okay, we're fine. We're fine. There's no water, there's no music. The shark, blood bubbles up, and then the shitty animatronic shark jump scares you with like a shitty audio sting that is also like loud and annoying. It's like like mechanical and just, but it looks disturbing because it's like you've got a real shark and decaying foam that's like showing a metal exoskeleton, and I'm like shitting myself. Like, you know that clip in The Simpsons where Homer runs in with a chainsaw and he's like, Bart, you want to see my chainsaw? And Bart's like, what the fuck? That was literally, so I was like shitting my pants. And then we took photos like with me in the shark's mouth and everything.
I remember you were 10, and I had to carry you out of the boat.
It was awful. And then
not prepared.
Yeah, it was horrific. And then watching Jaws was like a fun thing because it was Memorial Day weekend. I think I was like 11. It was like me, like the whole family was together celebrating Memorial Day, and we were doing like an indoor beach because I think it was like raining that day or something. So we like laid out sand-colored towels and we were drinking all these like crazy beach-themed drinks, and we were watching like Elvis movies from the 60s and Sharknado, and we ended it by watching Jaws. Nice. So I don't even remember sort of my impression of it at the time, but I remember the experience of watching it. Yeah. And then probably 2-3 years ago, we went they did a re-release.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we saw that one too.
Yeah. We all went to go see it. I took my girlfriend who had never seen it. And I was oh, she doesn't really like older movies. She might not be into this. And it's her dad's favorite movie. He wasn't able to make it, right? I don't think he was able to make it. But it's his favorite movie. Yeah. And he literally has a podcast called Is It Jaws?
Which we've actually always but Josh and Joe and I were guest stars on it twice. Yeah.
He loves it so much. The premise of the show is ranking movies based off of their quality compared to Jaws.
Yeah. So which Jaws is it? Jaws 1, Jaws 2?
Yes.
It's a really terrific idea for a podcast.
But so we got to see it with her, and I hadn't seen it since I was 10.
Yeah.
Not only did it hold up for me, I was like thrilled the whole time. Every beat was working. I could talk about the blocking and the filmmaking and everything.
Which I'm going to.
But my girlfriend was also like engaged the whole time too. Mm-hmm. I was surprised by it. And like afterwards, she was like, no, that movie was incredible. And like, it was just an awesome experience, and we had so many different generations. I think it was us, and it was you, and it was Jim Haynes, and I think our friend EJ Acosta was there too. And so it was just like this broad range of people going to go see this movie, and it was just 50 years later still fucking playing. It wasn't, and then there were kids in the front row too. Like it was like different generations in the entire theater, and it just fucking played.
Yeah. It was packed. It was sold out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a tiny theater. It was one of the larger theaters. I think it was actually meant for, I think it was the IMAX theater.
I think it was.
It wasn't in IMAX, but it was that capacity of packed.
Yeah.
And everybody still screamed or cheered or whatever.
Yeah.
It holds up so well. I mean, that's just good filmmaking. Is like know what's going to happen, but you're still engaged watching it. It's incredible. Yeah.
And I'm always fascinated.
Everybody talked about it and analyzed it.
Yeah. I am always fascinated by these types of movies that feel timeless. You know, that because there's great movies from that era that also, if I were to show it to somebody my age who isn't like a cinephile, I'm like, oh, that might not hold up in the same way. To me it does, but like there's a lot of stuff from like The Exorcist that I'm like, oh, we've sort of seen similar and scarier things since then.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is another film, I think, that is in the vein of Jaws in the sense that when you were there at that time, it had a way different impact on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
but there
growing up in high school before like all the Conjurings and everything came out, that was still one of the scariest movies, and that's one of those where I remember like exactly where I was and when I turned it off. But yeah, it's interesting that depending on what you see first. That's why I never try to overhype something for it's like if it's a nostalgia thing, I'll be like, okay, I love it, but here's why. I'm wanting to show it to you because I think you might like it, but you might not love it the way I do. And I think that's important to recognize. Like, it doesn't make it of any less value necessarily, but when people like freak out at someone for not liking an older,
right?
They didn't grow up.
I found that whenever, particularly, you're right, when people overhype stuff or whatever, I think their intention is never bad. Their intention is that they want you to experience it the way they have. And they don't realize there was no one at that time overhyping it to them. They walked in cold. And so, right. Usually I try not to say something. I say, oh, you got to see this movie. And that's where it ends for me. I'll say, sit down and let's just watch it.
But like, and like, God knows, like there's so many movies, being a horror fan, I've had to fight for my life in some rooms where it's like, well, because I grew up with Jaws and The Exorcist, they don't have, like, and I love watching them. You throw them on, I'm going to enjoy it when I'm watching it, but they don't have the same impact on me as stuff like Scream, Saw. I love, like, some of the remakes, the Halloween remakes, the Texas Chainsaw remakes, the Friday the 13th remake.
Oh, I will die on the Texas remake.
We need to talk about that on the show at some point. We were watching The House of Wax, which I didn't watch at the time, but because it's such a nostalgic, like 2004, fucking Paris Hilton's in it, it's like it's just like the movie's perfect. So it's like I think it is also like an age thing too. It's like whatever you watched when you were 13 at sleepovers, like that's gonna have a huge impact on you.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think Jaws necessarily had that kind of impact on me as an artist and a filmmaker. But when I'm watching it, I'm engaged. I'm dialed in. It's nothing that doesn't work for me. Even I mean, look, again, Quint's monologue is just like, it's one of the greatest fucking pieces of writing ever. I mean,
and the fact that was like one take.
Yes.
In his second take, and that was like that.
And it does what, to me, I don't try to write monologues like as a writer. It's like if it happens, it happens. But when I'm watching a great monologue, my favorite thing that happens is when it's just holding on the person and they're talking. And in your brain, you sort of start to tune out and you're imagining what they're talking about.
Yes.
Like, because I can clearly imagine what that scenario was like. I don't even remember what the piece of coverage on Quint looks like, but I can picture the 20 guys in a circle and the ship having just sang, and they don't show any of it. And that's my favorite shit in a monologue is when it transports you. Like that. And it's magic. It's pure movie magic.
Yeah, and it's one thing to have a wonderful piece of monologue like that that's so well written.
Yes.
And then to push it into another atmosphere with the performance of someone like Robert Shaw.
Yes.
To then really, because that's the paint, and that's the brush, the monologue. You still need the artist to create this.
Yes.
And I think Robert Shaw to come and turn what is already a great monologue into something that, you're right, that he doesn't tell it as something. He's not memorizing and regurgitating some words.
Yes.
He's painting with those words.
Yes.
And you're right, because now you've stopped listening to him and you're imagining what's happening.
Yeah.
And it takes the talent of someone like Robert Shaw to pull that off.
Yeah.
I
think he passed.
Doesn't feel like acting at all.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. He didn't live too much, and he's in some of my favorite movies of all time. You know, he's the bad guy. There's a great film called The Takey and Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I need to see the original. Oh my god.
Yeah, which you've never seen. I'm just going to go off on a slight tangent about this movie. It is probably my favorite New York crime movie.
Nice.
That's even more so than and that's not a put down of like The French Connection, not a put down of any of those films, because those are in my pantheon of top five New York City crime movies. But for me, what makes the Take It Pelham 1, 2, 3 the most New York crime film is that here's the premise: 5 terrorists hijack a subway car.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They hijack a subway car. They want $1 million, which is a lot of money back in 1973.
It's a lot of money now.
Yeah. And everybody involved, the mayor, the police, the transit authority, everyone involved is so much more concerned with getting their day done than the hostages. And for me, that is the most New York thing.
Yes.
The safety of the hostages were secondary because all the transit authority people are getting pissed off that trains are backing up behind them. You know what I mean? The mayor has a cold and he's in bed and he's trying to he wants nothing to do with it, but his wife is telling him look, you'll get so many more voters if you come out the hero with this. He's like, oh fuck, let me just do it. You know what I mean? No one has any concern about the actual hostages. Robert Shaw plays the main villain.
Nice.
And he is fucking terrifying in it. As a matter of fact, he says a line that I annoy my wife with all the time now, and I still say to this day. He says something to the effect that we're going to need all the money here, and you're going to be here in 15 minutes, and he's talking to Walter Matthau over a microphone. Matthau is a transit cop, so they only communicate that way. And Walter Matthau goes, "We can't do that. It's not humanly possible." And calmly, Robert Shaw just goes, "You'd be surprised at what's humanly possible."
Oh man!
And his delivery.
I can picture it.
Tingling. So to this day, when my wife will say we can't do it, it's not possible, I'd be like, you'd be surprised at what's humanly possible.
Nice.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Oh,
yeah, I only saw.
So it wasn't so much a rant going off road for taking Pelham 1 to 3, but I did want to highlight the level of acting that Robert Shaw is in.
Oh yeah, no, he's incredible.
Yeah. Was he? Did he have a drinking problem during Jaws, and was he extraordinarily cool to Richard Dreyfuss? Yes. The answer is yes.
And Dreyfuss is also incredible.
Yeah,
I mean they all are. He's fucking incredible.
Yeah,
everybody's fucking incredible. But I love their dynamic in particular throughout the boat.
Yeah, and that is spawned because of
their actual
Dreyfuss being intentionally cruel to. I mean, Shaw being intentionally cruel to Dreyfuss. Yeah,
and I mean, fucking Roy Scheider's
so good.
One of my favorites. I mean, my favorite movie of all time probably is All That Jazz. And he's it's I think I've watched that movie 3 or 4 times in just the last 6 months.
Incredible.
It's one of my favorite films, and Roy Scheider in this, in that, and everything is just fucking. And he never really had the sort of career I think he should have.
Agreed.
But I think that's maybe I think a guy, you cast anybody else in this part who would have been good in this part, and they're a leading man, they're an A-list, they're a guy, and Roy Scheider always transforms and molds to the part.
Yeah.
And so I think he didn't get that because you'd hire him in one movie and you'd be like, I want Roy Scheider from Jaws, and he's going to give you something else. He's going to give you what that needs to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe there were political reasons or whatever reasons that he didn't get.
Yeah. Really, I still have to show you Sorcerer, which he's incredible.
I have been dying to watch Sorcerer. I've been trying to watch that for years.
Yeah.
We just watched Corridor Crew react to a movie where he steals a helicopter. I forget what it was called.
Blue Thunder, which I showed you.
Shit. I need to see this movie.
See it. It's insane.
We have it on DVD.
Yeah.
Watching those stunts was like, what?
Yeah. And it's definitely a movie of its time in terms of technology. So much of the technology was of its time, but doesn't matter. It's just a cool ass movie.
Off the wall popcorn.
Roy Scheider is the hero. What's his name from Home Alone is his assistant. Daniel Stern is his assistant. Malcolm McDowell is the bad guy.
Say less. Daniel Stern.
Yeah, and it's directed by what's his name? Who directed Saturday Night Fever and
Oh.
Yeah. Shit, I can't think of his name.
Either.
He's directed a bunch of really cool, great movies. I keep saying Sam Bayer, but that's just absolutely
John Badham.
John Badham, yeah.
Thank you, Stabby Tech Josh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have to do my job sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, and at the time when it came out, it made a lot of money. It inspired the TV show Airwolf. Have you ever seen that show?
Oh, no kidding.
It was because of that. They
Okay.
So yeah, so it's a fun movie. I can't say enough about it. It's just fun. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
I will say watching it at like 11 was kind of the right age to watch.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's literally just like flying helicopters doing cool shit, and it's like that's just the best shit ever when you're a kid.
I'm here.
I mean, it's like it's the best shit ever now, but
yeah,
I was gonna say I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. If you have the chance to see it, see it. It's really cool. Yeah, and so we talked about Robert Shaw, and we just finished Roy Scheider. I also want to talk a little bit about Dreyfuss too, because Dreyfuss, he's another guy that I think all three of them had that sort of everyman kind of feel to it versus leading men. I know that all three of them weren't Spielberg's first choices.
That's interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I think they all. Let me see if I can. As we're talking, we'll look up the different things. But
Spielberg wanted a young Timothy Chalamet for Scheider's part.
Yes. He wasn't
ahead of his
wasn't
time.
visible by microscope yet.
No,
but
he knew that he
knew it, and
he knew it was there. He knew it was there.
No, I mean, but like.
I think maybe that's part of the reason their chemistry all worked too, and why my favorite scenes of the movie are at the end on the Orca is because the three of them were just none of them were like necessarily trying to one up each other or be the leading man. They were just doing their parts, and like the everyman thing, just they blended so well together.
One of the things I take often from Spielberg that I think doesn't get called out enough in his like genius is when he's casting, he really casts like not normal looking people, but people that look like people and feel like people.
Yes.
Like I remember when we were casting our movie, talking with my brother and being like, well, sometimes it was a choice. It was our only choice that we got the second person we wanted.
Right.
But other times we were like, well, who would everybody around us cast?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's cast the second person. It's like, let's cast the person that nobody's going to put in this part, but is going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think that's when you get magic, is when you give that person an up at bat that wouldn't necessarily in that role. And there's a legitimacy you feel to that. Like you feel like these are real people.
Yeah.
And I always strive for that when I'm casting, is that it needs to feel like a real person. I don't want it to feel like Brad Pitt's playing the ugly ship mechanic or something.
Right.
It's like, no, you should get a guy that feels like he's, taken apart and put back together a car.
Exactly. Yes, I agree. I mean, like, again, yes, acting is acting, but still, like, there are certain people where it's like you see them in the part and they're so present, they're just so omnipresent as a celebrity now that it's hard to like watch them disappear and see the character.
Right. So Spielberg, I found one of the casting choices. Spielberg originally wanted Charlton Heston to play Roy Scheider's.
I mean, that would have been pretty dope.
However, and the studio was 100% on board, but at the last minute, he chose not to because he thought to himself, if Charlton Heston's on that boat, the audience is going to think the shark has no chance.
Oh my
God! Because here's a guy who's always been in that position.
Yeah.
And so they ended up going with Scheider, who was not as well known at the time, but also really good.
Like potentially expendable to the audience.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Like not like it's like one of my favorite Family Guy jokes when they rip off Star Wars. Like, you're gonna take us through an asteroid field? Relax. We have like 4. We're gonna be fine.
We got a shot.
That's my favorite joke from that.
Yeah.
It's so true when you're seeing that a lot of times in a movie, and that's what I love when horror subverts that too. I love when any movie really does subvert that.
Yeah.
Like obviously Psycho, like you're thinking you can't kill Janet Leigh. She's the biggest star in the movie. Like then doing that is chef's kiss. I love that.
Absolutely.
There's a movie that did that brilliant in the last 3 years. I don't want to spoil it but literally there's like an A-lister in it who is in all the trailers, all this, dies so unceremoniously like halfway through. And you're just like, wait, what is this movie now? And it's just like, it's so perfectly turns it on your head.
I want to text you. I feel like I think I might know what you're talking
about.
I know he's seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, but I don't want to, and I don't want to root it for the broader audience, but it was in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that shit. And that's one of the things that you can get out of horror that you can't necessarily get in drama, or you can get. I've been talking about this a lot.
You can, but it doesn't always have the same.
You can, and there's a lot of movies I can think of that are favorites of mine where you do something like that. Place Beyond the Pines does that. That's a personal favorite.
Yeah.
But I've been like, somehow in my friend group I've become the horror guy, and it's so because I'm surrounded by people. Well, because I'm surrounded by horror people, I don't think of myself because I'm like, well, Sonia's seen double the horror movies I have. So is Joe. So is Manny, and all like all these people. I'm like, I've seen enough. But then, like, I talk to my friends who have only seen The Conjuring 10 years ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I have a horror podcast. I guess I am a horror guy. It's become like people ask me like, well, why do you love horror movies so much? And so I've been thinking about that a lot. And one of those reasons is that you can play with audience expectations in a way that you can in other ways, but I think the audience is far more accepting of it when they've let their guard down that they're going to enjoy some. Because socially, if you're sitting to watch horror, and none of us agree with this opinion, I mean, I do to a degree, but if you're sitting down to watch horror, you have let your guard down to enjoy trash.
Yes.
You have let your guard down to say, I'm not looking for a sophisticated work here.
Right.
And so I can... Now, I think we've all tread the ground that horror is far more sophisticated than it gets its dues for.
That's the average person.
But I think when people put their guard down, you can really sort of sneak in some incredible shit that way.
Yeah.
And because horror is so prone to tropes, specifically, it is so much more fun and easier to use that, like, not against the audience, but to like subvert their expectations.
Yeah, I think what makes horror so effective is the same thing that makes comedy so effective, is that they're the two genres that play on very primal things.
Yeah.
There are two things you can't fake in cinema, and that's a laugh and a scream. You know, you can't go, but like if you're really going to either scream or sit back and have something sink in that you're going to have dreams about, you can't, that's something you can't fake. That's a very primal thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where Jaws comes in. You know, the Jaws has a very subdermal, you know, primal fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Or nature. Or nature. It's not just an unknown. It's like this is the fear of the Jaws fear taps into the fear we felt since we were huddled in caves, terrified that a bear would walk in.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's the same feeling that we've had for literally since the before the dawn of our consciousness.
Right. Yeah. Right. Because
you have that fear.
Yeah. Because if you're going to go into a mall, chances are you're not going to get attacked by a shark. Right? But if you're
go to a mall, it's in LA, it's possible you get attacked by Eli Roth.
Yes. Oh my God. But if you go to the beach, you know, and again, this is the types of things that people like Stephen King play on. What seem to be normal can actually hurt you.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you know,
seemingly safe, innocuous thing.
Yes. Right. A nice safe day at the beach has now turned itself on its head. A movie like Jaws.
Yeah. And I again, like when I think of the horror movies that have always impacted me, it's that taking of the safe space. You know, there was like, well, I remember when I was a kid, like the only, this has since changed, but the only horror character I ever liked was Michael Myers.
Right.
And anytime I thought about it, I was like, why is it that one? It's like, well, I don't have an animatronic doll, so he's not gonna come get me.
Right.
Right.
I don't live on Elm Street. I don't go to a camp. I do live in a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that could just happen, you know, and that always freaked me out of like taking this safe space and making it unsafe. There was a horror movie I didn't even particularly really like, but it stuck with me, was the adaptation of Clive Barker's Books of Blood on Hulu. If you're a horror fan and you're a fan of Clive Barker, I do recommend it. I didn't think it was phenomenal. There is some good shit in it. But there's this one segment,
and it does have a bit of a following.
No, there is good shit in it. Like, I am a fan.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, if you hated it, I wouldn't be like, you're an idiot for hating this.
Right.
But there's one segment that is like plays on the fear of being in your room asleep. And I stay up thinking about that sequence. Like the way it was shot, like it just, something about being alone in bed at night should be like, you're letting your guard down. That should be the safest. And yet, here, we're going to throw you something scary. And
that's why home invasion movies are so popular.
Yeah.
So popular. Yeah.
That's you. Like you said, if I don't go to the beach, I'm not going to be attacked by a shark. But
it doesn't have to be a horror film. The things that we think of as safe can be made to be incredibly scary in films. Look at Marathon Man. I never thought of being scared going to the dentist. Now when I go to the dentist, all I think of is Marathon Man.
Oh,
I've seen Marathon Man. I have no idea what he's talking
Okay, well, we watched it with your brother. Yeah, Liz and I watched it with your brother. But
I haven't been home a lot for the last like 2 months.
2 years. But you're absolutely right. I think the things that are primal feed on the things that we consider to be safe and then take that away. So we have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There's no safety for us in these films.
And people ask me that too, Josh, like, why do you like horror films so much? Why is it the violence? And I'm like, no, it's the same reason you go on a roller coaster.
Right.
It's controlled fear. It's the adrenaline of like, I want to get scared and it'll be fun. It's just it's that simple.
And bringing this back to Jaws, I think the what increases the fear factor is when they've now decided to go on the orca and go after them, because now there's no beach. There's no one who can. The beach actually, the sand actually had some safety level left.
Yes.
Now it's just them. And this was a choice by the writers and Spielberg, because in the book they actually go home every night. Like, really? In the book, they go home and they go back to their wives and then they go out the next day to go eat things. So it's not this like this 2-day excursion that they're on in the book.
Yeah.
You know, it's the very reason something else happens in the book that doesn't happen in the movie, which is Richard Dreyfuss's character actually has an affair with Brody's wife.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because in the book, like, you see them kind of banter a little bit, like, oh, why do we have to come here? We can go back to New York. That's a way bigger deal in the book. She is happy that they are there.
Okay.
He took it basically to get away from all of that, and so it becomes an issue where she finds solace in Richard Dreyfuss's character in who.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have somebody pointed out recently that structurally this is only 2 acts, right?
Yeah.
It's like you've got it's literally like set up on land, payoff in the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's literally like almost split down the middle. 2 acts.
Yep.
And
I mean, being stranded in the middle of the ocean, that's definitely a primal fear. I think just not knowing where it is and when it's coming, and that was a really good choice on their part.
I haven't been on a boat in probably 10 years, and anytime a TikTok comes on where it's like, here's how you can use your genes to become like a floating device in case you're in the dead middle of this. I'm like, I'm watching this in case it happens. I'm watching this in case it happens.
You never know. You never know.
I'm not going on boats. I don't plan on traveling in an airplane across the ocean, but who knows?
Never
Maybe I
know.
just wake up in the Atlantic somehow.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah. No, I would agree entirely.
No, it's
Yeah.
scary shit, man.
Yeah, yeah. I wanna talk a little bit about Spielberg himself in terms of Jaws. Now, I'm not going to talk about the making of Jaws and all that sort of stuff because again everyone's been through it. But Spielberg, I've always said, and I maintain this, and I will die on this hill until someone else comes by who might be doing it better. Spielberg is probably the master class at blocking a scene,
Yep.
blocking shots. A lot of people will arguably say it's probably Kurosawa. I think Kurosawa is probably the greatest composition creator. His compositions are beyond comprehension sometimes, but in terms of what goes on in the shot at the time, what the blocking of the shot, Spielberg's a genius. And not only does he block the visuals, he blocks the audio. And I'm going to use one particular scene to example all of this. It is the town hall meeting after the shark.
Oh, okay.
It's mostly one shot, and we don't really even realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through the town hall. We keep landing on people who are disgruntled, or they have different things to talk about. And that person might say something and get up and go, "Oh, the answer's over here," and they'll walk. We will pan over and stop on somebody else who then has something else to say. And there's a crowded room.
Yeah.
You know, and which could easily be a big cacophony and a big mess.
Yeah.
But in Spielberg's hand, we know where we are at all times in that room. The audio, if you listen very closely, does a very similar thing. They go through the room. We hear the big loud mess of the crowd of people. Everybody's disgruntled. Nobody knows what to do. Should we close the beach? Should we open the beach? But every time we go into past someone who says something significant, their audio is just very subtly, their levels are raised. So we can hear what it is they're saying above all this mess. And as they pass away, it goes back down. And so we are in a room that is a big mess, and everyone is confused as to what is going on, and everyone is trying to have their own opinion as to what to do with this shark and to what to do with 4th of July weekend and what to do with the beach itself. We are never lost, ever once.
Yeah, and that is like somebody yesterday was showing some stuff for my movie, and they were asking me like, well, what'd you learn from making this movie? And I think the thing I learned more is like I need to fucking work on my blocking. Is like I don't think it's bad. I don't think there's any bad blocking.
Right.
But the ability to hold a wide and have the talent and the camera be in just the right place and have everybody move in such a way that feels natural, feels like it's happening, is something I just don't have yet. And Spielberg, every fucking time. I mean, if you saw his version of West Side Story, the blocking is just fucking perfect. Like every dance sequence, everything is perfect. Oh my god! It's
go further back and look at his movie like Duel.
I never saw it.
It's Duel is just Truck Shark. It's Truck Jaws, literally. It's just Dennis Weaver and a guy in a truck who you never see. It's just this menacing fucking truck. And what makes it so menacing is Spielberg's direction, his camera placement, his blocking.
The scene where Brody like hops on the little ferry with the mayor.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Fucking like it's so natural. You don't even realize at the end of the scene it goes from like what 6 or 7 of them to just ever so slowly.
And they step forward
and they yell shark, and it's just the 2 of them, and because it could feel so clunky and unnatural and awkward, but it doesn't. You don't even notice it.
We've all watched the version of that where it is clunky and awkward because the director said we need to do a oneer and
right, yeah. And what's the purpose of it? I don't care. We just need to do a oneer.
Versus doing it to stay in the moment and keep and stay on these guys and show.
Yeah, it isn't until I became a film student that I even understood what a oneer was. I was just engaged in it. And this is a ferry. This is a ferry that's going across the water to somewhere else, and we never cut. ever.
Yep.
They drive onto the ferry and they have an entire scene that happens from beginning to end, and we never cut.
Yeah.
And we're never bored of it because of what you said.
Nope.
It's where it's people step into close to the camera so that there is an intimate scene, and they step back when you need to talk to more people and have more information come in.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That
Also, props to the assistant camera person who has to pull focus so perfectly on that, because that could easily mess up.
Yeah.
Oh, so
no,
good.
Yeah.
There's just a million ways it could go wrong, and very few ways it goes right. And Spielberg's just a fucking master at it. And I could sit here and talk about Spielberg forever.
Mm-hmm.
His work in the '90s with fucking Jurassic Park, and I'll never, as long as I live, I will never understand how this motherfucker does Jurassic Park and fucking Schindler's List in the same goddamn year. And it kind of pisses me off a little bit. Cause to do one of those great, great is a feat in and of itself.
Yeah.
To do two of those in a career would be, who's done a movie like Jurassic Park and like Schindler's List?
Mm-hmm.
There are directors that can do a great version of Jurassic Park. There's a lot of directors can do a great, can't do both. And he does both in the same fucking year. And I think he got Oscar nominations for both.
Well, one was at the time the highest grossing film of all time, and the other one won Best Picture.
Oh my god.
Fucking jackass.
Yeah.
Save some for the rest of us. God.
It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
And then,
Hogging on the talent, bruh.
3 years earlier does Last Crusade, which is, my personal favorite Indiana Jones movie. And handful of years later, he's doing Minority Report and AI. And I think Minority Report is probably my favorite Spielberg movie.
It is.
I think so.
It is probably my favorite. I love it, and it's got a wonderful story resolution to it. But I think if I were to ever teach color grading, it is a masterclass in color grading.
Gorgeous.
A film.
And to the point of like, that was the Spielberg movie that impacted me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Right? It was like the look of it, the feel of it. I'm a massive Tom Cruise fan, and like just all of the like, that was the one that when I was a kid and I was interested in sci-fi, it would be like, you'd watch iRobot and it's like, that's a fine movie and it's a good movie. And it was like one I grew up with, but like all that type of sci-fi movie, Minority Report is the one that just knocks it out of the park for me.
My Spielberg, the one that hit me was Poltergeist. That was the one.
I didn't watch that until I was much older.
Okay.
It just didn't land on me in the same sort of way.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so hard for me, but it's one of those where like it sounds so cheesy, but you're scared, you laugh, and you cry.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
So just for clarity to our audience, Poltergeist is actually credited to Tobe Hooper for directing it. But apparently a lot of behind the scenes stuff, the rumors that Spielberg did step in a lot.
Yeah, Hooper is the director, but Spielberg is acknowledged as the actual
right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously we're Hooper fans here too.
Yeah, exactly. But like you could see, you're right. You could see Spielberg's DNA in it.
There are people who worked on it who came out since and were like, "No, Spielberg was the director."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of there were like political things happening in the background that he couldn't or wouldn't put his name on it. Or,
okay, interesting. Yeah, for me that's the one that still hits the most.
Yeah. And then, like, because I also, I had like a lot of filmmakers talk about having this arc where it's like when you're 8, the greatest filmmaker of all time is Steven Spielberg, and you hit high school, film school age, and you hate Steven Spielberg. You're like, he's too commercial, he's too this, he's XYZ, and then you arc around to being an adult again, and you're like, all right, well, now the greatest filmmaker of all time is Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I hit that when I was like 17 and Stranger Things was out, and I was like, fuck this, fuck you. I'm like, I'm not doing like fuck Stranger Things, and I was into Stranger Things for like the first season or whatever. But eventually, I was like, I'm tired of this 80s bull crap.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, fuck E.T., fuck Jurassic Park, fuck and so, but then you grow up and you're like, well, shit, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
kind of the best shit ever.
So
God
I want to bring up a movie called Love Bites. A 300-year-old vampire tries to rehumanize after falling in love with a beautiful mortal.
A secret Steven Spielberg directed movie.
It stars Adam Ant,
That's fucking crazy. What movie? What
Michelle Forbes. The reason why I brought this up is because it came out the same day as Jurassic Park.
Stop.
So I am guessing this person, this director, I don't know who this person is, but I'm assuming that they hung themselves. Because where does this go? Where this
How
gets
did you find
completely
this movie?
I just looked it up.
Love Bites.
This completely gets lost in the shuffle of Jurassic Park and Schindler's List.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. Because you know there's like, all right, I got Adam Ant in this. This is going to be a blockbuster. It's this big
Right?
comeback. And imagine just being in. It's the same thing when I remember we went to go see when Avengers: Age of Ultron came out,
Mhm.
and it's only because the unfortunate title with what's her name was in it, Blake Lively, I believe. Age of Adeline came out the same day. So
Ooh.
anyone who looked up Age of was never going to see Age of Adeline.
Wow. Yep. And I've learned this recently. I always knew that they had a beef, but
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey, the
Yes.
theory that he hated him so much because he did, what was it, the Babe Ruth story? Tommy Lee he did like a biopic,
Yeah.
and it came out the same year as Dumb and Dumber, and he thought that was going to be his Oscar thing, and
Right,
it was completely upstaged by Dumb
Yeah.
and Dumber. So he just always had that chip on his shoulder. Yeah, timing is everything.
Yeah.
So I largely consider, I'm looking at the list of movies from 1978. This might be one of the best years for film of all time.
78.
78. You have Eraserhead, Halloween, National Lampoon's Animal House, Superman, Watership Down, The Last Waltz. Then you've got Jaws and Piranha hitting the same year.
Jaws was 75. You're probably looking at Jaws too.
Yeah.
I thought we were doing it because this was in 78. I thought Jaws was 78.
No, Jaws is 75. That's why it's the 50th anniversary.
You know what? I am looking at Jaws 2. That's what it was. Anyway, still, you got Grease, Jaws 2, and Vampire Hookers. And that was a great year for cinema.
Yeah. And Vampire Hookers, again, everyone remembers.
Totally.
I don't remember Halloween too much, but Vampire Hookers.
Vampire Hookers.
Yeah, that's the legacy.
I flopped my Stabby Tech shit. I was looking at movies in 1978.
You've been working hard. It's okay.
That's all right.
Hold on.
I do want to talk about this before I forget it because I only because I brought up at the beginning. I think we because Jaws had come out right after that. There were so many Jaws ripoffs. We actually covered one. We covered Grizzly.
Yes.
It was just Jaws in a forest. Again, down to all of the same characters. I think probably the best I think my favorite is probably Piranha.
And that's Spielberg's favorite too, isn't it?
Is what?
Yeah.
I think that's Spielberg has gone on record.
Yeah, that's why Joe Dante got hired to be in Gremlins.
Ah, okay.
Because Spielberg loves Piranha so much.
That's so great.
I think my favorite is Orca.
Ooh.
And the reason being is because,
I haven't seen that since I was a kid, but that's scary.
The De Laurentises at the time, I don't think they're around as much anymore because most of them have died, but the DEG Corporation, I think, still funds movies. I don't remember if they're still around, but Dino De Laurentiis was a huge name back then. And he created a bunch of sort of what he wanted to be great films, but ended up being sort of schlocky. Some were classics like Flash Gordon. That's one of my favorite films of all time. But it is schlocky and it is campy, but they do it so well. He wanted to capitalize on Jaws, and so they were like, "Well, what's a bigger, smarter Jaws?" And they were like, "Well, killer whales." And
Not wrong.
Yeah, so they called it Orca. And he was so delighted because also Orca is another name for killer whale, and it was also the name of the boat on Jaws. So they were hoping that somehow people would do a sequel to Jaws. But I just loved Orca just because it isn't so much a man versus animal film or man versus nature. It's a revenge film.
Ooh, okay.
And it's what like with Jaws, you're hoping that these people get out of this alive.
Yeah.
To the point where he fires the when Brody says "Smile, you son of a bitch" and blows up the shark. Again, when I was a little kid, everybody cheered.
Yeah.
In Orca, you want Orca to win.
Ooh.
Because the main character, what's his name? The first Dumbledore, Richard Harris, plays a guy who's obsessed with killer whales or whatever, and Orca is swimming in the water with his mate. They fucking capture his mate, kill her, and when she dies, this is a little triggering for people, but it happens in the movie. A baby falls out.
Oh,
So having a baby. So this whole film,
that guy.
Yeah, this whole
fuck
film,
that guy, indeed.
Orca systematically going after everybody in this film.
Oh, I love it.
This is Jaws Wick.
Yeah, it is Jaws Wick, and so for me, I was like, because I was such a huge animal nut, I was on the side of the fucking killer whale.
Yeah,
and
hard
everybody
save.
should be in this. Yeah.
Okay, I need to watch this again.
Yeah.
Style.
Yeah. It has a very sad ending, but a very satisfying ending. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone.
Oh my god!
Just go
We have
see
to watch
Orca
this.
if you have the ability to do.
Okay, noted. Yeah, I remember seeing bits and pieces when I was a kid, and I think I grew up more scared of orcas than sharks because of that movie.
Yeah, because
and, I do not change my opinion.
No, because
Good God.
Yeah, and also in many ways, killer whales are actually a little more dangerous than sharks because
they're much more.
They have intellect, and because it's a revenge film, it's not above the realm of believability because they are smart enough to exact revenge.
Oh, yeah. They would remember. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that to me is so much more terrifying. But at the same time, I'm like, these people fucking have.
Oh, they had it coming. Yeah, they totally had it.
Yeah.
I'm all for the orcas going after
It's definitely a bittersweet ending. It's both satisfying but a little sad at the same time. Definitely, I would definitely say watch it because
I think dolphins are more dangerous than sharks are. You're more likely to be sexually assaulted by a dolphin than you are.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
you were absolutely right.
Dolphins, the Eli Roth of marine animal. I can't believe I'm not. You now have me doing this. This is going to get sued.
Well, hold on. All I said. I'm not going to look at the numbers and say that you're more likely to be sexually assaulted than Eli Roth than you are a dolphin. I did not say that. I said you're more likely to be attacked by Eli Roth than you are a shark.
That is true. Okay.
Yes,
so
those numbers I'll back up.
Right. These are all alleged things.
These are parody. It's satire.
Parody is a satire.
Do not come for us. They're jokes.
We are clearly joking.
Should not be played in a court of law.
No.
Do not take it out of context.
Yeah. So that is where I did want to talk about.
I appreciate that.
Probably for me the best Orca ripoff. The best Jaws ripoff.
Probably
that was a memory unlocked. Thank you.
Yeah. This will drop on July 4th. I didn't want to drop this, and I think we all didn't want to necessarily drop this on the day that Jaws hit his 50th anniversary, because everybody does. We wanted to drop it on July 4th weekend, which is when we should be closing the beaches.
Exactly. This is like my 4th of July tradition is to watch it.
A great opportunity to drop this episode then. So happy July 4th, everyone. For those of you who don't know,
celebrating it this year, but
there's also my wife and Stabby Tech Josh's mom, her birthday. She's so happy birthday, Liz.
The whole country celebrates her birthday.
The whole country celebrates her birthday. Yeah. And
she get fireworks on your birthday. Hell yeah.
Like most household pets, goes into the house because she doesn't like fireworks. She's
That's adorable.
So she's not a fan of that. But nonetheless, we celebrate her birthday. I am one of the few husbands in the world that has no excuse for forgetting her birthday. So that can't happen. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for listening to yet another episode of the Stabby Road podcast. Sonia, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we get to do another one of these together. I can say this on behalf of Josh and Joe. We value your friendship so much, and we love you. Thank you so much, Josh. Same thing. I only get to see Josh more than we get to see you.
I
Not
know.
much more.
Not much
mind you.
more. Although lately, yes, because
little
Josh and I are actually working on the same film. So
We have been working
we've
together.
been working
a
on
lot,
the same
actually.
film, so we get to see.
Nice. Okay, that helps. That
Yeah,
helps.
that helps. So
But
thank
yeah,
you
we'll throw
again.
out some dates.
Does anyone need to plug anything, or does Sonia, do you want to plug anything? Are you at any conventions or shows or?
Oh man, I should think of that beforehand, shouldn't I? I don't know right now, to
If
be
there are any
honest.
links to stuff, she'll send it to us and we'll drop it in the show.
Yeah,
We'll drop in show notes. Josh,
everything
what
goes
about
to
you?
Twitter.
I'm not plugging anything. Just see me around, man.
Yeah, and we're all just working on
around.
stuff that hasn't come out yet. I'm Josh. Josh is hopefully shooting my film. I'm shooting a film of my own on the 15th, so hopefully Josh will be able to shoot that.
Trying desperately to get the day off work.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's actually a good problem to have that my own son I have to kind of book because he's that busy. I can't just go, hey, come shoot this. You know, you're my son. He's booked. He's busy. So the kind of thing you want to have your son be in a position to do.
Absolutely.
So don't forget to find us on all our social medias, including TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and even what's the one with the butterfly? Blue Sky, and fucking the other
Poob,
one, and the other one that I'm not going to fucking.
Pooble.
But you know it, and Pooble. You can find us on Pooble. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. If you like what you're seeing now, give a like, give us a really nice review, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It would help us out tremendously. So, on behalf of Stabby Road, my name is Rob Graydon.
I'm Stabby Take Josh.
I'm Sonia Harcourt.
And thank you for taking with the dog and the and the guy and the stuff.
The Stabby Road podcast was created by Joe Senna, hosted by Rob Graydon, Sonia Harcourt, and Joe Senna. Recording technicians Josh Graydon and Eric Todd. The Stabby Road podcast is a production of Fourth Castle. All rights reserved. See you next week.